What will happen if Donald Trump becomes the President of the United States? 16 years ago, The Simpsons broadcast an episode called Bar to the Future, in which Lisa becomes the first straight woman president. As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump, she tells her staff, who inform her the country is broke due to her predecessor. Writer Dan Greeny described it as a warning to America, adding, "It just seemed like the logical last stop before hitting bottom." It was pitched because it was consistent with the vision of America going insane. Today, Greeny's fears are on the verge of being realized as Donald Trump's bid for the presidency could become a reality. Since entering the race in June last year, he's staked out controversial policy positions on immigration, gay rights, the economy and justice. If elected on Tuesday, Trump has vowed to get to work from day one. Here the Mirror takes a look at what a Trump presidency would mean. Immigration. From day one of his presidency, Trump has vowed to begin working on an impenetrable physical wall on the southern border, handing the estimated £22 billion bill to the Mexicans. Described by Trump as rapists, drug dealers and murderers, many of the 11 million undocumented immigrants he has vowed to deport from the states come from across the border. Also, he plans on implementing a temporary closing of the U.S. border to all Muslims until we can figure out what's going on in the wake of several ISIS attacks in America and the world. It's no secret that ever since Trump's particular brand of Islamophobia has been introduced to the public, there's been a noticeable upswing in anti-mosque attacks and anti-Islam violence in the US. It is likely it would only get worse. He's backed away slightly from the position recently, saying it's merely a recommendation and the ban would only apply to nations with a proven history of terrorism against the states or its allies. The American Action Forum, a right-leaning policy institute based in Washington, D.C., estimates that immediately and fully enforcing current immigration law, as Trump has suggested, would cost the federal government from £326 billion to £490 billion. It would shrink the U.S. labor force by 11 million, reduce the real GDP by £1.3 trillion and take 20 years to complete. Trump reckons he could do it in 18 months. It will harm the U.S. economy, said Doug Holtz-Eakin, president of the American Action Forum and chief economic policy advisor to Senator John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign. Immigration is an enormous source of economic vitality. Abortion. Hillary Clinton prides herself on being one of the biggest supporters of abortion and the nation's largest abortion provider, Planned Parenthood. Trump, on the other hand, has said he will be no friend to the industry if he wins the Oval Office. The Republicans' position, however, has been changed more times than a baby's nappy. He has flip-flopped his way through the issue, once declaring there has to be some form of punishment for those women who undergo the procedure, while at another time stating he was pro-choice. Trump actually doesn't hate Planned Parenthood. He has acknowledged they do a lot of good when it comes to making sure women get screenings for breast cancer and cervical cancer. However, he is adamant he would defund the industry, giving those tax dollars to community health centers that offer comprehensive health care. Today he rejects the pro-choice position on abortion and saying he is pro-life. Fears are his policies would create a surge in backstreet abortion clinics springing up or force women to travel abroad to Latin America, where standards are reported not to be as high. Women. Only recently has Trump realized the strength of the female vote. His campaign has been dogged by allegations of sexual impropriety against women, while he has also spoken degradingly of the opposite sex. As far as Trump's presidential campaign, women's attitudes toward the Republican candidate are mixed. Among the general public, females overwhelmingly dislike him by more than a 2-1 margin, but among his party and some independents he has support. His views on women are at times disturbing, once saying breastfeeding women were disgusting. He then said of his daughter, "If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her," while another time declaring a person who is flat-chested is very hard to be a 10. He has lacked a position on equal pay and paid family leave throughout the campaign, while appearing through his words to condone sexism. A Trump presidency is feared would stall, if not set back, women's rights. Policing and race. While you're hard-pressed to find a Republican who doesn't believe in law and order, Trump has actually put his love of police into action, using them to throw out protesters of his rowdy rallies. He also defended the beating of a Hispanic man, claiming the perpetrators were just passionate men who got carried away. Even though Black Lives Matter has made police brutality a cornerstone of its campaign, Trump has promised to give power back to the police because of rampant crime. His policy of handing police a controversial frisk and search policy allowing them to stop anyone is directly opposed to Hillary Clinton's view of moving to end racial profiling. America's problem with institutionalized racism would hardly be helped under his watch. Foreign policy. Trump has labeled America's foreign policy as a complete and total disaster, adding it has no vision, no purpose, no direction and no strategy. While on the campaign trail he condemned the U.S. war in Iraq, Obama administration actions to overthrow the government in Libya and what he says is a hamstrung effort to fight the so-called Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. He said that there will be no daylight between U.S. and Israel and has pledged to reopen the disastrous nuclear program negotiations with Iran. All this while speaking favorably about Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying the two would get along very well. He has promised to welcome old enemies who want to become friends and criticize the idea that America should be the world's policeman. He has said, above all, the U.S. must be unpredictable with its foreign policy so that its adversaries will not be able to anticipate. Trump's foreign policy has largely been a mishmash of positions, so it was somewhat unusual that his team took an active interest in watering down the platform's anti-Russian language. Recent weeks has seen him take a more moderate approach to sensitive issues, claiming foreign aggression is not his first instinct, which may, however, revert back once back in the White House. Trade and economy. Throughout the campaign, Trump has gone to extreme lengths to emphasize his experience in business, telling the country he will make America great again. Choosing not to mention his numerous failed brands such as air travel, universities, vodka and his ill-fated casinos, he believes his CV puts in the best position possible to lead the U.S. economy. Despite being extremely critical about the current state of U.S. trade, he has however offered very little in the way of specific policies to fix it other than saying my core beliefs are I want a major tax cut. His default setting is to promise to create jobs in the states, as he accuses the likes of China, Mexico and Japan of stealing them away from the U.S. He has said past trade deals were poorly negotiated, without protections for U.S. workers and intellectual property, and that he would rework them to put American priorities first. He's called the Trans-Pacific Partnership the rape of our country and suggested that U.S. trading partners who are competing unfairly could face massive tariffs, putting him on a collision course with the World Trade Organization. Trade offers the best example of the revolution Trump so desires, but at a potential cost to relations with foreign nations. Gay rights. Donald Trump has taken an accepting view on gay marriage whenever it suits. When Sir Elton John wed David Furnish, he tweeted, "If two people dig each other, they dig each other." But during his campaign he has stated marriage should be between a man and a woman and states should not be forced to recognize same-sex couples. He's expressed opposition to the North Carolina law that required transgender individuals to use bathroom facilities corresponding to their birth gender, however. His party is quite clear that it views traditional marriage between a man and a woman as the foundation for free society. It condemns the Supreme Court decision legalizing gay marriage and asserts that every child deserves a married mom and dad. Democrats have drawn battle lines on LGBT matters, an issue which Trump appears ignorant to. If he resists change and denies gay men and women their right, it is a battle the billionaire will lose if he becomes president. For Britain. Before his departure from number 10, David Cameron described Trump as divisive, stupid, and wrong. It would have left for an exciting first meeting to discuss the special relationship that he stayed on, and the Republican one. But now with Theresa May in charge and Trump's attitude to women, it is even more difficult to envisage. The undoubtedly terse meeting would come amid a backdrop that Parliament hosted a heated debate over a petition calling for him to be banned from visiting the UK. The truth is, America doesn't need Britain the way it once did. In the past, when the relationship went frosty, it had to recover because both sides needed it too. Britain, with its diplomatic ties all over the world, was still a go-between for the states, but now America doesn't quite need Britain in the way that it did.